This summer, Oregon's 5th District Congressman Kurt Schrader returned to the southern border to tour migrant detention centers, a controversial issue that tends to bring strong partisan reactions from both sides. The moderate Democrat has called for more compromise and bipartisan policy on that topic and more. Home for the August recess, Schrader joins us to talk immigration, gun control, health care, and a potential challenger in the next election. From KGW News, this is Straight Talk with Laural Porter.
Hello and welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Laural Porter. We hear a lot of grumbling about how Congress can't get anything done because Republicans and Democrats can't agree on anything, on gun issues, immigration, health care. But Oregon's 5th District Congressman Kurt Schrader says it's not all bad news. Progress is being made. Congressman Schrader is here to tell us about that. And we talk about his re-election bid. He has some competition in the Democratic primary from the mayor of Milwaukee, who says Representative Schrader is not doing enough to address climate change and health care. We'll ask him about that. Welcome to my guest, Congressman Kurt Schrader. Great to have you back.
Oh, thank you, Laurel. Good to be back.
Let's talk about what I think is top of mind for a lot of people still, the mass shootings we saw a couple of weekends ago in Dayton and El Paso. 31 people killed, dozens injured in a matter of hours.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about that, and what can Congress do to reduce gun violence?
Sure. Well, it's pretty horrible. I mean, by any stretch of the imagination, it's just horrible that this would occur in our country, frankly, especially at a time when theoretically things are good. You know, the economy's good. People are generally, at least in Oregon, feeling pretty good about themselves. You know, we need to get after this. We got to show faith with the American people that we care and that we're doing stuff. The House has actually passed 2 big bills. One is a universal background check bill, much like we have here in Oregon. Another piece of legislation to close a loophole where if you didn't get your gun in a certain amount of time with a background check, you automatically got the gun. Now we're going to make sure you really should have a weapon. We've sent that over to the Senate. Senate hadn't done anything.
What's the holdup? Why can't it get any traction in the Senate?
With all due respect, appears the majority leader over there just wants to do judicial nominations. There's very little, almost no floor time for any policy issues. Little bit of hope here on the drug price control space. He's let a couple committees do some stuff here just before we went home for the August break. But up until then, it's been judicial nominations, no policy whatsoever. That's on Mitch McConnell.
Democrats are calling on Mitch McConnell to bring the Senate back early. Now we're past mid-August.
Yeah.
Is that likely to happen?
I don't think so at this point in time. And he has been, frankly, very obstinate. You know, people complain about the president. At least the president seems like he's interested in doing something. Well, it depends on what moment and what day, what he's going to try and do. But Mr. McConnell is singularly focused on, frankly, not doing a whole lot at this point.
So you don't have a lot of hope for September either when you reconvene?
I'm hoping, actually, I have a little bit more hope for September, Laurel, because, as I said, these committees have now finally were allowed, Senator Wyden's Finance Committee was allowed to put out some drug price control bills. Senate or House is already way ahead of that. We had a huge bipartisan vote on 6 bills early on to encourage generic competition. Passed out of my committee 51-0. That doesn't happen every day. And then we just did another swath of about 10 bills, some on public health care, community health centers. We had some on drug transparency and surprise billing, trying to get people out of the middle of that surprise bill you think you're going to get. We actually had that come out bipartisan, same kind of votes.
We'll talk more about health care a little bit later. I want to talk a little bit more about guns. Now, you co-sponsored, didn't you, the background check bill?
We did.
In the past, when you've been here over the years, we've talked about your support for the Second Amendment, also that you're a gun owner. You've had the endorsement of the NRA sometimes in previous elections. Are you worried at all by supporting some of this gun legislation you're going to lose that endorsement or lose the support of some of your constituents who are strong Second Amendment supporters? Sure.
Well, I think the times have changed, let's be honest. The NRA of old, I think, was a very respected organization, advocated for gun safety, you know, a thoughtful regulatory framework for anybody to have a gun. That seems to have changed, to be very honest with you. They become much more ideological, like most groups in Washington, D.C., unfortunately, these days. And I tell you, stay in touch with my constituents. That's who I work for, not the NRA, not some other group. My constituents are strongly in favor of universal background checks. It makes sense.
So your position has evolved over the years, which happens a lot of times. So would you support a ban on assault-style rifles and large-capacity magazines?
No, not at this time. I just don't see that as the real source of the issue at this point in time. They tried that back in 1994, as you probably remember, and had very equivocal results. Didn't change the number of gun deaths over that time frame. I think the big emphasis should be on keeping weapons out of the hands of people who shouldn't have them. We're actually now looking, the Senate and the President for a change are looking at red flag laws, again, like Oregon has enacted, to make sure that people that are a threat to themselves or others, people can get a court order to keep weapons out of their hands. And I think that's the place where we have commonality. The idea is, let's move the ball forward. Let's not argue. Let's actually get something done. The American people deserve it.
Let's talk about that red flag warning. We talked to a local mom and her daughter who went to a judge to ask him to have the police take away weapons from their son and brother. And let's listen to what they had to say.
These red flag laws most certainly save lives.
I figure he got a very fair chance in court. Very fair. And it didn't cost him anything. No one had to get an attorney.
His gun was not taken away on a whim or lightly. There was a very fair due process, and it worked exactly as it was designed to.
How much do you think a federal law will help reduce gun violence? It might actually help reduce suicide.
Oh, I think significantly. That's a good example right there. There are legal due processes that a person can get the right to have that weapon again later on. But again, as the mother and daughter talked about there, it's a good, legitimate process to protect somebody from themselves and from other people, or from harming other people. I think that's basic in our society, especially in this era of social media, where, unfortunately, some people are easily encouraged, if you will, to do certain things. And unfortunately, this president has created an atmosphere where acting out apparently is acceptable. I don't think so, and I don't think most American people or Oregonians think so.
Another issue a lot of people are talking about is immigration. I know it's been top concern for you as well. You visited the U.S. border with Mexico this July with 16 other congressional members. Your second visit there, and you live tweeted while you were there. We have some pictures, we have some video from your live tweet. So as we look at some of these pictures, tell us about your visit there, what your impression was, and has it improved since the first time you went?
Well, it's improved in some respects in that for the first time compared to last year, the Border Patrol folks realize they got a huge family problem on the border. It's not the old thing with a single male coming across to get a job and going home. We have families from those Central American countries, and they're just not equipped to handle them. They're now trying to figure out how to do that. Another area of bipartisan support, Congress sent a big humanitarian aid package down there, $4.5 billion for more judges to get them through the process quicker, so they're not sitting out there in the sun or in these camps, making sure they get the proper nutritional, hygienic needs down there. We passed a bill out of the House that actually would have standards of care for some of these people. Again, bipartisan effort. So, but we're trying to fix this. It's really very difficult. It's going to take resources, and I think we're starting to work together to actually do that.
And you went with problem solvers. You had Democrats and Republicans who went down there, and then I understand afterwards you met at your hotel and discussed what you saw and some what you called common sense solutions. What did you come up with?
Well, we were talking, we're going to continue the dialogue. This is a group I started about 6 years ago, equal numbers of Republicans and Democrats, and it was about 50-50 going down to the border, about 8 and 8 of us down there. Sat around and brainstormed. It's obvious that they need more resources. That came across crystal clear. We talked about hopefully enabling folks to seek asylum, maybe in their home countries. They don't have to do this dangerous trek. There may be an opportunity to do more work at our embassies on Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador, and also just frankly make sure that the Customs Border Patrol folks have the ability and training to get down there. One of the big problems is they have these detention centers, and these people are in these cells for more than just a couple hours because there's no other facilities, no family facilities for these people to be released to. So we've got to improve what we've got.
We're talking about a lot of people. I was reading the Oregonian said as of June 1st, so it's more than this now, that U.S. Customs and Border Patrol arrested 664,000 people who crossed the border illegally.
The numbers are incredible.
Number to try to tackle.
Numbers are incredible. The daily total of folks that are coming across across that border. And again, it's not like they're, for the most part, trying to evade you. There's some, you know, we still have sex trafficking, gun running, money laundering, all sorts of horrible stuff. So we do need the Customs Border Patrol folks, the ICE people down there to make sure that doesn't happen, or at least minimize that effect. But all these other immigrants, they're looking for asylum. So which means they want to come and be adopted into American society and go through their legal process that would enable them to have asylum. The sad part is 80% of these people don't get asylum, and they're hanging out for months and months at a time. Their lives kind of so uncertain, not such great conditions. We need to improve those processes down there and give people a really fair chance for whatever opportunity they have here in this country.
And the Trump administration just enacted a new immigration policy. It takes effect in 60 days. And California, we're taping this on Friday, California is suing over this. It favors wealthier immigrants. Poor immigrants deemed likely to use government benefits like food stamps, subsidized housing, welfare would be denied permanent legal status or a green card. What do you think of that policy?
Well, I think Congress should be doing that, not the President of the United States. I mean, people forget that's our job. We are the elected representatives. We are the lawmakers, not the executive branch. I don't care if it was Obama. I don't care if it's Trump. That is our job. Historically, for the last 20 plus years, we've had a system where we don't want to just have anybody come in that can't work or doesn't, you know, isn't going to contribute to the economy or the well-being of the United States of America. So it's been mostly, you can't be just automatically on cash assistance. That was the definition. Now, this administration, on its own, without congressional approval, has picked it up into all these other areas like food stamps, all the other types of programs we have to help people get started. And you know, frankly, if you're immigrating from a country and doing 3,000 miles of hardship, spending all your money, running the risk of getting killed by these cartels, you're not doing it because you're wealthy and have a lot of opportunity. You're coming to America for opportunity, much like my grandparents did and many other folks. So I don't mind them getting a little helping hand to get started. They're going to be good contributing members of our society.
Looking ahead now to your primary, you have a serious opponent, Milwaukee Mayor Mark Gamba, and he sees himself as more progressive than you. He says you're out of touch with everyday people, with everyday problems in a district that's shifting, that's changing. Do you think that the people of your district want somebody more progressive?
Well, I think with all due respect, my potential challenger is out of touch. Perhaps he didn't notice that my district did not vote for Kate Brown for governor, that this district voted for Dennis Richardson, a Republican, you know, for Secretary of State. And voted again, you know, with the business community on Measure 97. So I don't think he understands where this district, frankly, is. I consider myself very progressive, particularly in the social scene. But my district is a very diverse district. It actually is a good, in my opinion, microcosm of this country. It's got 30+% Democrat, 30+% independent, and 30% Republican. So I'd like to think I'm probably one of the more balanced legislators there, and my track record proves it. I get reelected, a healthy margin. I had my biggest margin of victory ever in this last election. And I'm working on the issues I think that Oregonians care about most.
He's challenging you on two big issues in particular, climate change and health care. He's described as a climate champion fighting for change to address climate crisis. He sees it as an urgent issue. He thinks Congress is just tinkering with it, that Congress needs to stand up to the fossil fuel industry. What are you doing to fight climate change? Are you addressing it with enough urgency?
Well, I'd say I'm 10 years prior to him coming to office. I voted for the Energy Independence Act back in 2009, 2010, when we were trying to do a cap and trade bill, if you might remember back. That was cutting edge back. Now, he's coming to the party a little bit late. That's fine. I'm glad he's coming to the party. But I was there long before he was in terms of trying to address the impact of fossil fuels on our climate. It is an emergency right now. We actually passed a bill in the House to get us back into the Paris Accord so we could be part of the solution, part of the discussion. This particular administration has taken us out of that. This administration doesn't even allow us to use the words climate change in our federal agencies. That's how bad it is, Laurel. It's really, really bad. So, no, I think I'm way ahead in that arena. I enjoy working on it. It's part of my committee's purview, and we'll continue to do what's right for our great Oregon climate in culture.
We'll ask you about one issue. You're the only Oregon Democrat to support the Resilient Federal Forest Act, or the Westerman bill. Critics say it would sidestep public oversight, weaken environmental laws, endanger forests like the Mount Hood National Forest, to streamline large-scale thinning and logging projects on federal land. Why did you disagree with the other Oregon Democrats and vote for this bill?
Well, it was actually a big bipartisan bill. As you pointed out, many of the Oregon Democrats couldn't get there. Many environmental groups very concerned. We actually tried to find a path forward on making sure that when there was disease or damage, decay in the forests, that we could actually use these logs to advance, get them out so they wouldn't be contributing to the unhealthy nature of the forest. I think most Oregonians, since that bill was put on the floor, might change their view a little bit with all the forest fires we've had. Since then, you know, Southern Oregon's economy has been devastated, and our climate has been devastated by the carbon put into the atmosphere by these wildfires, because we're not doing any smart work in the woods. And with all due respect, I think rural America, rural Oregon, should have a shot at a decent job in their hometown. They don't want payments, SRS payments, you know, from the government. They want to be able to work in the woods, which is their area, make them healthier, hopefully support the economy. We have cross-laminated timber now. It's a very exciting opportunity to be a carbon sink and also a great economic driver in our state. I would like to think most Oregonians, and maybe even a few of my delegation, might rethink their position.
Does it limit government accountability too much?
No. Doesn't have anything to do with it. All the same rules are in place. What this deals with, for the most part, is what we call categorical exclusions for small areas where there's been a big blowdown of timber, the disease issue, you know, other types of problems in the forest, salvage logging, so that it doesn't contribute to the mortality in the forest. It just adds carbon. If you allow the forest not to be harvested in any way, shape, or form, or do anything, or prescribe burning, the mortality, according to Oregon State University in the forest, is phenomenal, and actually would contribute more pollution as opposed to being a carbon sink. So there's that balance.
Is this in the Senate? Is it stalled in the Senate?
No, right at this point. Well, yes, it was the Congress before, so we have to start over again. So I'm going to actually get back in September, work with Congressman Westerman again. We'll probably do a Westerman light version, try and get more of my Democratic colleagues. We did have bipartisan support. See if I can't get some of our Northwesterners supported too.
Well, I want to talk a little bit more about health care, your opponents for Medicare for All. I want to ask you where you are on that, and also talk about what we all love to hate, those annoying robocalls, and your plan to try to stop them. We'll be back in 2 minutes.